Hello! Today I want to show you this pattern here. It might look like a cable stitch pattern from far away, but here we use a different way to pull the stitches. I will show you. For this here I used my Openwork NOBLY. It consists of 74% cotton and 26% silk. So a very soft yarn to wear. It runs 125 meters in length per 50 grams. You can also use the Openwork sheep. I recommend that if you want to make a warmer scarf. I'm using a needle size 5, which is a UK 6 or a US 8, but I knit very loosely, so you might need a needle size 6, so a UK 4 or a US 10. Best is you knit a gauge and then feel your pattern. If it feels nice and soft, then you're using the right needle size. Never be irritated by the recommendation of a needle size. You have to decide on your own if A, you like the way your stitch pattern looks, and B, if you like the way it feels. I used the knitting needles for my Openwork needle case. With that system you can combine your needles and hooks as you want. Here you have the knitting needles. Over here the crochet hooks. Also you have these cords included. And then some more items such as scissors, stitch markers and a measuring tape. Let me measure for you how wide this scarf is. Like I said, it's just a trial pattern. I just wanted to try it out. And so now I have a width of about 16 centimeters or 6.3 inches. For my taste, that's a bit too small for a scarf, so I would add another 1 or 2 of these pattern repeats. So I would knit those border stitches for a nicer look. First of all, it's important to know how many stitches we need to cast on. Per pattern repeat, we cast on 9 stitches. So 9, 18, 27, 36. And then we have 3 additional stitches here, so that the pattern adds up left and right. Plus the 2 border stitches. So altogether I now have 41 stitches with this work here. If you want to make your scarf wider, say 1 pattern repeat wider, then I would have to cast on 50 stitches. So 41 and then always add 9. Or you cast on 59 if you wanted 2 repeats wider. That's totally up to you. But when you work in rounds, the stitches have to be divisible by 9. So I casted on all these stitches here, starting with the border stitch, and knit the stitches in garter stitch. I will show that to you later. Then 6 stitches in stockinette stitch, 3 in reverse stockinette stitch, 6 stitches stockinette stitch, 3 reverse stockinette stitch, 6 stitches stockinette stitch, 3 reverse, 6 stitches stockinette stitch, and the last ones again in garter stitch. Alright, but now we concentrate on the holes and how to pull the stitches here. That's what this tutorial is about. I guess you know how to cast on stitches. If not, you can look for a tutorial for beginners on how to do that. Okay, in the beginning we slip the border stitch. Then we knit 3 stitches in garter stitch. Until now I did these 3 stitches in reverse stockinette stitch, but now I want to do them in garter stitch because I don't like how the edge here curls up. Alright, and now I want this stitch here on the left to be located here on the right once I'm done with the hole. And these 5 stitches will then be passed over this left stitch. So first I slip these 5 stitches. Then I slip the last stitch. And then one by one I get the stitches and pass them over this 6th stitch, one after the other. Okay, once I passed all 5 stitches over, I slip the 6th stitch back onto my left needle, then knit that stitch and yarn over once. Then I purl 3 stitches for our reverse stockinette stitch, and then we do the next hole the other way around. We want to alternate. Here I pull the stitches left, and here I pull them right. And now I want to pull them left. With that, this stitch here on the right will later be on the left, and the other 5 stitches will have been passed over it. So this time I yarn over first, then get the 2nd stitch and pass it over the first one, then the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th, and after that I knit this first stitch, so the last one remaining. Now we again have 1 yarn over and 1 knit stitch. Same as over here. The only difference is that here we have the knit stitch first and then the yarn over. Just the other way around. Next, we again purl 3 stitches for the reverse stockinette stitch. And now this stitch here will be the one remaining. That means I slip all these 6 stitches here over onto the right needle, and then one after the other I pass them over the last stitch. Once all 5 stitches are passed over, I slip the remaining stitch back over onto the left needle and then knit that stitch and yarn over once. We purl another 3 stitches, and now again the other way around. First we yarn over and then pass each of the following 5 stitches over the first one. Then knit that remaining stitch, and we end again in garter stitch and knit the last border stitch. Now we turn our work, and in the wrong side row I'm going to show you how to pick the stitches up again. As always, we slip the border stitch at the beginning, and at the end we knit it. Then we knit the first 3 stitches. That stays the same. And now here I have my 2 stitches, the knit stitch and the yarn over. I purl this stitch. In the right side row I knitted it, now I purl it. And now out of the yarn over I will knit 5 stitches. Like that. Purl 1 stitch, yarn over, purl 1, yarn over, and 1 last purl stitch. Now we again have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches. Now we knit 3 stitches. These are the ones I purl in the right side row. And here's our next yarn over. Again, we knit 5 stitches out of that. Purl, yarn over, purl, yarn over, and purl. 5 stitches. And then we purl this single stitch, and now we again have our 6 stitches from before. I knit the following 3 stitches, then purl 1 stitch, and out of the yarn over we purl 1, 1, yarn over, 2, purl 1, 3, yarn over, 4, and purl the stitch, 5. Then knit 3 stitches, and again purl 1 stitch. You can see that I hold on to the yarn over here. Then yarn over, purl 1, yarn over, and purl 1 more. And we also purl this single stitch here. Then we again knit the last 3 stitches, and also knit the border stitch. Alright, now the following 8 rows are more relaxing, because there's not that much going on. Slip the border stitch and knit the 3 following stitches. Then we knit 6 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then purl 3 stitches. And again knit 6 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Purl 3 stitches. And knit another 6. Then we purl 3 more stitches. Then knit 6 stitches. Then knit the last 3, because we do both ends in garter stitch. And also we knit the border stitch. And as you can see, we again build these holes in our pattern. Now I'll show you the wrong side row too. We again slip the border stitch and knit the following 3. And then in turns, we purl 6 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and knit 3 stitches. Purl 6 stitches, knit 3 stitches, and so on. We end with 3 stitches in garter stitch and by knitting the border stitch. Here you can already see that the edge doesn't curl as much as before. That's why I always test my patterns, so that I can show you the best way in the tutorial. When you try out new patterns, you notice when something doesn't work or looks weird. So I try to fix that, and that's what I then show you in my videos. I also had a couple of rows less in the beginning, but then I came up to 8 rows, and I think I like 8 rows the best for this pattern. But you yourself are free to try new things and experiment with the pattern. Alright, so now I have 1 right side and 1 wrong side row above the holes. 6 more rows will follow. So 3 right side rows and 3 wrong side rows. And then I'm going to show you once more how to make the holes. It's basically the same as before, you just change the side to which you pass the stitches over. But for now, you knit 6 rows like the 2 we just did. Alright, I now finished my 6 rows, 8 in total. You can easily count them here. Altogether, the pattern set consists of 10 rows. In the first row, we do these yarn overs. In the wrong side row, which is row number 2, we pick the stitches up again, and after that we have the 8 rows with only knit stitches and purl stitches. And then we count here. This is my first row. And then we just count the purl stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then we start the new set. We start again in garter stitch. And here you can see that I pulled the left stitch to the right, and because I want to alternate, like I did here when I pulled the right stitch through the left ones, I now yarn over and then pull 5 stitches over this first one here. So the right stitch is now on the left. After that, we knit the remaining stitch. So we again have our yarn over and our knit stitch. Purl 3 stitches. And now we have it just the other way around. Before, I pulled the right stitch here to the left. Now we pull the left stitch to the right. For that, I first shift all 6 stitches onto the right needle and then pass the 5 stitches on the right over the left one at a time. Then I shift the remaining stitch back onto my left needle and then knit it and yarn over. Next, we again purl 3 stitches and then yarn over first before we pass our 5 stitches over the stitch here on the right. And then we knit that stitch. Purl 3 stitches and then again shift 6 stitches onto the right needle and then pass the 5 stitches on the right over the left one. Either one at a time or more. If you manage to pass over 2 at a time, that's fine too. Then I shift the remaining stitch back onto my left needle, knit it, and yarn over. Next we again knit 3 stitches, and then knit the border stitch as well. One more time, the wrong side row. Slip the border stitch and knit the first 3 stitches. And now here I have the yarn over. Purl 1 stitch, yarn over, purl 1, yarn over, and 1 last purl stitch, and then the single stitch we purl as well. Now we knit 3 stitches. Purl 1 stitch, and out of the yarn over we purl 1, yarn over, purl 1, yarn over, and purl the stitch. Then knit 3 stitches, then purl 1, yarn over, purl 1, yarn over, and purl 1 more. And we also purl this single stitch here. Then knit 3 stitches. Now purl 1 stitch, and out of the yarn over we purl 1, yarn over, purl 1, yarn over, and purl the stitch. Then we knit the last 3 stitches and also the border stitch. And now we are again at the point where we knit 6 rows of only knit stitches and purl stitches. And the 3 stitches next to the border stitch we knit and garter stitch. The edge stays nice and flat. I like that. And this is how you work this pattern with these holes. You can also vary the pattern. For example, you could work more stitches here, although I would always choose an even number, so that you can then pick up an uneven number of stitches out of the yarn over. You can see here, where I tried less stitches, that I did 5 stitches. Then out of the yarn over, I got 1 purl stitch, a yarn over, another purl stitch, and 1 more yarn over. Then the single stitch here, but then this last yarn over forms this unpleasant hole here. That bothered me, and so I chose an even number, because then you end with a purl stitch and the yarn overs lie in between. That makes the whole pattern nice and even. Alright, that's it. This is a very versatile pattern. I imagine it's also nice for a hat. I'm curious about the designs you will come up with. You're welcome to upload pictures in our Woolly Hugs Facebook group and share your experience. Well then, I hope you had fun with this tutorial. If so, you're welcome to subscribe to my channel. I frequently upload new ideas and designs. Hope to see you soon. Love, Veronika.